Good evening, and thank you all for coming. We've all heard the saying, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. Well, tonight I'm going to present 8 apples that may keep you out of his office for good. What I'm about to show you may just change your life for the better. You see, there are natural principles that govern our health. And if those natural principles are ignored, if the apples we live by are wormy, then our bodies will protest. And that's called disease or dis-ease. So I'm going to ask you to keep an eye out for our friend over here, as he will pop up from time to time throughout the presentation. Whenever you see him, you know that there is a wormy apple about. That is a principle that is not going to help you in your quest for vibrant health. Yeah, the worm is kind of cute, isn't he? There are 2 forms of medicine that have been developed to combat disease. They're called allopathic and naturopathic. Let's define them. This is according to Merriam-Webster's dictionary. Allopathic is relating to or being a system of medicine that aims to combat disease by using remedies such as drugs or surgery, which produce effects that are different from or incompatible with those of the disease being treated. That's allopathic system. The naturopathic system is a system of treatment of disease that avoids drugs and surgery and emphasizes the use of natural agents such as air, water, and herbs, and physical means such as tissue manipulation. We're going to look at Bermuda's health and how it may be addressed from a naturopathic viewpoint. Let's get back to the apples. Not very attractive. Wormy apples are no good for us, and their effects may not be seen from the outside. But if we could look on the inside, we would see something different. And the same applies to our lifestyle choices. First, I'm going to share with you some disturbing statistics from the American Medical Association and United States government health websites. These were published in early 2013. Doctors, drugs, and hospitals are bankrupting America. $2 trillion is the money that Americans spend each year on health care, which is really dis-ease management. $4.4 billion is the money Americans waste each year on emergency room visits for routine, non-urgent care. And 62.1% of all American bankruptcies, that's 700,000 Americans, filed for bankruptcy last year who claimed high medical expenses as the #1 reason for their insurmountable debt. Now, we could scale these figures down for the islands of Bermuda, but no one would doubt that the problem is a serious one even here. We need one more definition to complete our preparation for this lecture. What happens if you get sicker after receiving some type of medical treatment that was supposed to make you better? It's called iatrogenic disease. Okay? Iatrogenic disease is induced inadvertently by a physician or surgeon or by medical treatment or diagnostic procedures, according to Merriam-Webster. Study.com defines iatrogenic disease as disease that develops as a result of another form of medical treatment or advice provided to a patient. And the same Study.com website also goes on to say, quotes, "An iatrogenic disease is not always harmful to the patient, though it is estimated that at least 230,000 people die each year in the United States due to iatrogenic disease. Figure that one out. As we shall see, that number is very likely underestimated. Here are the leading causes of death in the United States in 2013. Heart disease, over 600,000. Cancer, a little behind. Chronic lower respiratory disease, 150,000. Accidents, 130. And stroke, about 130,000 also. Compare that with the annual iatrogenic deaths in the United States reported on this website down here. Drug reactions, medical error, bed sores, infection, malnutrition, outpatients, unnecessary procedures, and surgery-related deaths come to almost 800,000 people that die every single year. Remember, these are ordinary people interacting with ordinary doctors and ordinary hospitals and ordinary prescriptions. This means that over a 10-year period, more people die in the United States of America from iatrogenic causes than all the casualties from all the wars that America has ever fought in. Something to think about. One of the reasons is that pharmaceutical drugs are killing us. 105,850 people killed. That's more than all deaths from breast cancer, prostate cancer, and AIDS together. The number of Americans killed each year from taking prescription drugs exactly as their doctor recommended. This number does not include overdoses, allergic reactions, or misdiagnosed drugs. That is equivalent to 300 people that die daily, more than all auto accidents. The number of Americans who die every day using an FDA-approved prescription drug, this means that pharmaceutical drugs now kill more people each year than auto accidents. And if you've ever read this small print on your medications, or even listened to the drug advertisements on the TV, you would be horrified by the side effects. They can be far more serious than the original condition they're supposed to be treating. Side effects like sudden death, heart attack, stroke, paralysis. And remember, these are the very same drugs that are being prescribed every day here in Bermuda. And supposing we do survive and somehow make it to old age, you can't afford to get old. 75 million baby boomers are about to collapse the retirement system. That's in America. There's an equivalent in Bermuda. $200 billion is the money it costs family members and friends each year who are burdened by providing long-term care for a loved one. And if you earn $75,000 a year in America, then that's still not enough money to afford 3 months in a nursing home in terms of disposable income. And although our salaries in Bermuda are more than in the United States, the average monthly cost of rest home care is around $5,000 a month here in Bermuda. That is $60,000 of your disposable income every single year. Add to that the whopping insurance premiums and medical expenses, and we can see why Bermuda is suffering under an almost insurmountable financial load resulting from the health, or specifically the poor health, of its people. That's real bad news so far, isn't it? But keep calm and get healthy. Don't panic. There is a solution to this calamity. There are 8 non-wormy apples to help prevent disease and in many cases reverse it. And they are nutrition, exercise, water, sunshine, temperance, air, rest, and trust in God. And if you read these apples down and then across, you will see that they spell out new and start, because they really are designed to give you a new start in life. And most importantly, they are all within your own power, our own power, to enjoy. We're going to take a closer look at each of these principles in a little more detail and just see what they can do to benefit our individual self-lives. The first principle, the first apple, N. N is for nutrition. You are what you eat. Just enjoy the cartoons for a minute. I think we can take you off the cabbage diet now. Oops. How about that one? You are what you eat? And I like this one. Sad but true. Now we're going to take a somewhat tongue-in-cheek look at the story of creation from a dietary perspective. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth and populated the earth with broccoli, cauliflower, and spinach, green and yellow and red vegetables of all kinds, so man and woman would live long and healthy lives. Then, using God's great gifts, the devil created Ben & Jerry's ice cream and Krispy Kreme donuts. And the devil said, "You want chocolate with that?" And man said, "Yes." And woman said, "And while you're at it, add some sprinkles." And they gained 10 pounds, and the devil smiled. And God created the healthful yogurt, that woman might keep the figure that man found so fair. And the devil brought forth white flour from the wheat and sugar from the cane and combined them. And woman went from size 6 to size 14. So God said, "Try my fresh green salad." And the devil presented Thousand Island dressing, buttery croutons, and garlic toast on the side. And man and woman unfastened their belts following their meals. God then said, "I have sent you heart-healthy vegetables and flaxseed oil with which to flavor them." That looks really good, doesn't it? And the devil brought forth deep-fried fish and fried chicken so big it needed its own plate. And man gained more weight, and his cholesterol went through the roof. Cholesterol. God then brought forth running shoes so that his children might lose those extra pounds. And the devil gave cable TV with remote control, so man would not have to work so hard when changing the channels. And man and woman laughed and cried before the flickering bright light and gained pounds. Then God brought forth the potato, naturally low in fat and brimming with nutrition. And the devil peeled off the healthful skin and sliced the starchy center into chips and deep-fried them. And man gained many pounds. God then gave garden burgers so that man might consume fewer calories and still satisfy his appetite. And the devil created KFC, Pizza House, and Mr. Chicken with their double cheeseburgers and said, "You want fries with that? And man replied, "Yes, and supersize them." And the devil said, "It is good." And man went into cardiac arrest. God sighed and created naturopaths to teach people his natural health laws and to heal their diseases. Then man developed a medical system to perform quadruple bypass surgeries and administer drug medications for the remainder of their lives. And men still choose how to live and how to die by what they put into their mouths and what they do with their bodies. What will your choice be? Will it be like this? Or will it be the Scooby snack over here? Now we're going to look at some of the evidence for nutritionally caused disease. Dr. Dean Ornish spent 1 year studying 50 men with advanced heart disease, many who were candidates of coronary bypass surgery. He randomly assigned men to different groups. Both groups were asked to quit smoking and to walk daily. In addition, Group 1 had stress management classes and were put on a low-fat vegetarian diet that had less than 10% of its calories as fat and no cholesterol. Group 2 was placed on the American Heart Association's recommended prudent diet, which allows 30% of calories as fat and up to 300 milligrams of cholesterol per day. Group 1 had their blood cholesterol reduced by 40%, whilst Group 2 had no cholesterol drop and their coronary arteries increased. Their narrowing, in other words, they got narrower. Dr. Ornish then said, "This link between animal products and heart disease is now very well documented. It's no surprise that half of all Americans develop heart disease because the typical US diet puts almost everyone at risk." He then said, "I don't understand why asking people to eat a well-balanced vegetarian diet is considered drastic, while it is medically conservative to cut people open or put them on powerful cholesterol-lowering drugs for the rest of their lives." The two systems. And these are the foods that will lower your risk of heart disease and many other related diseases. Fruits, vegetables, whole grains, nuts, legumes, which is beans, and tubers, which are the root vegetables. By eating these foods, you will actually begin to reverse and prevent heart disease. And so to summarize, we have a choice. We can either enjoy this or this. Is this more appealing to you? I know which one I would choose. Now we're going to take a look at our second apple, the apple of exercise. E is for exercise. The American Heart Association has added lack of exercise to its list of major risk factors for heart disease. Other risk factors include smoking, high blood pressure, and high blood cholesterol. Exercise not only helps us fight heart disease, but for sedentary people, just adding a little exercise to our daily routine lowers the risk of high blood pressure, osteoporosis, breast and colon cancer, depression, anxiety, and stress. Some of the benefits of exercise include improving the heart and lung function, decreasing resting blood pressure, decreasing bodily fat, decreasing total and LDL, lower density lipoprotein cholesterol, that's the bad cholesterol, and raises the HDL, the high density lipoprotein cholesterol, the good cholesterol. And it also increases energy, tolerance to stress and depression, and controls or prevents the development of diabetes. Exercise also decreases the risk of orthopedic injury by strengthening joints, ligaments, tendons, and muscles. So just a little exercise in your life makes a huge difference. And so everybody should take some exercise. The Bible in Ecclesiastes 4 verse 5 says, "The fool folds his hands and consumes his own flesh," written thousands of years ago. The Earl of Derby in England said, "Those who cannot find the time for exercise will have to find the time for illness." Again, we're being presented with a choice. So some forms of exercise we should consider include brisk walking, biking, water skiing, alpine skiing if you're in Canada, swimming, and gardening. And in our follow-on lectures at the Botanical Gardens, we will go into greater detail concerning each of the 8 apples we're going to look at tonight. So please plan to attend if you can. We can go into further discussion on these. Now let's take a look at our third apple. Our third apple is water. Researchers at Loma Linda University in California studied more than 20,000 healthy men and women aged between 38 and 100. And the study lasted for 6 years. The study found that women who drank more than 5 glasses of water per day were 41% less likely to die from a heart attack during the study period than those who drank less than 2 glasses. And in fact, the protective effect of drinking that water was even greater in men. Men who drank more water had a 54% lower risk of a fatal heart attack. So drinking more than 5 glasses of water a day will protect you from heart disease and a potentially fatal heart attack. Not all liquids are equal, however. Drinks containing water have a very different effect than that of pure water. And when researchers included the consumption of other liquids, such as coffee, tea, juice, milk, and alcohol, the risk of heart attack actually increased. Women who drank large amounts of liquids other than water were more than twice as likely to die of a heart attack. And non-water drinking men had a 46% increase in their risk. So research indicates that water is absorbed very quickly and easily into the bloodstream, and thus it thins the blood, helping to prevent artery clogging clots. However, other liquids require digestion, which may require fluids to move from the blood and into the gut to aid digestion. And of course, that will actually thicken the blood, and the increase in risk would come from that. So what can we say about these drinks? You can lead people to water, but you can hardly make them drink enough. Why? Well, I'm not thirsty. I don't like water. Or I drink anything else. Let's consider the anything else for a moment. The average soft drink contains between 8 and 12 teaspoons of sugar, about 40 to 50 grams, depending on the brand you buy. That's a lot of sugar, and it's refined white sugar with no goodness in it, just refined calories, empty calories. And so our decision should be no more Dr. Pepper, Coca-Cola, and all these others. That is a wise choice. It may not taste as good initially, but water will do your body good, and your body will thank you for it and prolong your life because of it. Here's a formula you can use to determine exactly how much water your individual body needs. You see, you don't go by thirst, because thirst is one of the last alarm bells to go off when your body is actually thirsty. So step one is take your weight in pounds. The example here for ease is taken as 160 pounds. Step two is divide that weight by 2, giving you 80 pounds. Step 3, convert pounds to ounces, gives 80 ounces, and that's the number of ounces of water you need to drink a day. By dividing by 8, that gives you 10 cups. And you were given a water bottle at the door. The bottle contains just 1 cup, or 8 ounces. So the result from step 4 is the number of 8-ounce bottles that you need to drink a day. And of course, you can use bigger bottles. The real key, though, is not to just chug it down at once, because if you do, it'll come back out pretty soon. By sipping it throughout the day, however, your body has a chance to absorb the water into the cells, and you will completely hydrate your body and will never feel thirsty again. So let's look at a summary of the body's use of water. The human body regulates and facilitates healthy respiration by water, digestion through water, blood circulation, and also the immune system's circulation, waste elimination, temperature regulation, and glandular secretions all depend upon water. And the human body is between 66 and 75% water, the brain about 85 to 90% water. So we need to keep ourselves hydrated, or we might just stop thinking altogether. That's enough about water. Let's take a look at our fourth apple, which is sunlight. Sunlight can help lower cholesterol. There is an interesting process that takes place in our skin when it is exposed to sunlight. Sunlight strikes the skin, and cholesterol that is stored just under the skin is mobilized to the liver, where it is changed into vitamin D. Cholesterol from the blood is then sent to take the place under the skin. And so the overall bodily cholesterol is lowered. As cholesterol is stored in the artery wall plaque, is removed and sent back to the liver for processing too. So by simply going out in the sun, we can actually lower our cholesterol count. Lack of sunshine can cause depression, and sufferers can be cured by exposure to more light. A dose of sunshine can help save the lives of heart attack victims, say researchers. They found that patients recovering in the sunniest part of an intensive care unit were the most likely to survive. That's from the Daily Mail. And it also goes on to say that deaths were consistently more frequent on the dark side of the ward. That's from Professor Peter Hayes, University of Alberta. He led the study. And sun exposure also fights cancer. The vitamin D, which is produced from the sun's UV rays, according to what I just shared with you, was most likely the anti-cancer agent. Vitamin D protects against cancer. And of course, naturopaths have known this for many years, and so it's gratifying to see that research studies are finally catching up. Sunlight may also give cells an enhanced ability to repair DNA damage. If you sunbathe alone, if you just sunbathe and do nothing else, your blood pressure will reduce by about 8%. And if you combine that with exercise, you can actually reduce your blood pressure by up to 15%, which is an amazing statistic, and especially given that we're so blessed in Bermuda with an abundant source and prevalence of sunlight. Sunlight for the diabetic. sunlight actually has an insulin-like effect on the body, and it does it in exactly the right proportion to assist our glucose metabolism. Sunlight causes glycogen, which is the stored sugar, to increase, and it enables the blood sugar to be lowered. It actually mobilizes it into the cells that desire and need the energy. So sunlight is good for us. But sunlight also has effect on pain, according to a University of Pittsburgh study. And 89 patients undergoing spinal surgery were divided. Some were placed in the sun-exposed side of the hospital unit, and some were placed in the dim side. The results? The patients in the sun-exposed rooms had significantly lower stress scores when they left the hospital. They also had slightly lower pain scores when they left the hospital too. And in contrast, the patients in the dim rooms were given 28% more pain medications every day. So sunlight reduces pain. At least that's the inference. Like everything else, moderation is necessary. You can get too much sun exposure. You can get non-malignant skin cancers, and rarely you can get melanoma. That's not often related to sun exposure, but it is a risk. And according to 2 studies that I've read, they're often not related to the sun exposure, as I mentioned. There can be an increased risk of allergic reaction if you overdo the sun exposure. You can also age prematurely, weathered skin, and it can actually weaken your immune system. So everything in moderation. Sun is good, overexposure to the sun is not so good. And the Bible in Ecclesiastes 11 verse 7 says, "Truly the light is sweet, and a pleasant thing it is for the eyes to behold the sun." And that's an echinacea plant, which is also very good for the immune system. Now, our 5th apple is temperance. And you may well ask, well, what does temperance have to do with disease? You may just be surprised. Temperance is defined as total abstinence from substances that are harmful and the moderate use of substances that are beneficial. So it's quitting the bad stuff and going easy on the good stuff. The link between overeating and heart attack. Researchers at Brigham and Women's Hospital in Boston found that heart attacks are 4 times more likely to occur 2 hours after eating a large fatty meal. And the reason is that after a large meal, the heart has to work faster and stronger to digest the food. So the more a person eats, the harder the heart has to work. Also, the body will then divert blood away from the heart to digest the food itself, which is a problem for people who are at risk for heart disease. A high-fat meal impairs blood flow for up to 6 hours after that meal. And that's because a high-fat meal sets the blood up to form clots, and that's the main cause of most heart attacks. Anyone with a history of heart disease should go easy on the size of their meals and the amount of fat in the meal. Temperance deals with things that are good, such as work, exercise, rest, sunshine, and food, but it also includes the avoidance of the bad stuff, the tobacco, the alcohol, the drugs. I'm sorry, even the caffeine is a bad one. It has many deleterious effects upon the human system. And so we move on quickly to our 6th apple before anyone gets too complaining about the coffee and tea. Our 6th apple is air. Now, air, of course, is the most vital element for man and animals, because deprived of air, he will perish within just minutes. Some areas are oxygen depleted due to pollution. air pollution may be damping the heartbeat enough, even in young, healthy men, to pave the way for heart disease later on, according to a study Health Scout News reported on. The American Heart Association has said that some researchers estimated that people living in the most polluted United States cities could lose between 1.8 and 3.1 years of their lives because of exposure to chronic air pollution. And this has led some scientists to conclude that short-term exposure to elevated levels of particle pollution is associated with a higher risk of death due to a cardiovascular event. We're kind of blessed in Bermuda that we don't have such polluted cities, but the principle is the same. We can get pollution in our own homes. Things like mildew and mold, these can desperately affect the health of the system, and it can shorten your life. Now, do you know what these people are doing? They're actually at an oxygen bar. Most people who live in polluted cities where they cannot get oxygen-rich air go to these places. They go to what they're called oxygen bars, and they place oxygen tubes up their nose and breathe oxygen in a variety of different scents, such as peppermint, bayberry, cranberry, and wintergreen, flavored air. According to the American Lung Association, however, inhaling oxygen for 20 minutes at an oxygen bar is unlikely to help your body perform better. It may help you exercise a little longer and harder, but the effects usually only last for between 5 and 10 minutes. This picture here was taken in Chicago. So where can you find this fresh, health-promoting air? As I mentioned, around Bermuda we don't have a problem, but if you travel overseas, you can go to the country, you can go to the beach, go to the mountains and the forests. Fresh air will actually improve your brain's function, give you clarity of mind and thinking, actually helps to detoxify your blood, and will improve blood circulation that allows the heart to relax a little. And again, a choice quote from the scriptures say that for the life of the flesh is in the blood. And in order to have life, we must have blood. And to have healthy life, we must have good blood. And to have good blood, what must we do? Breathe well. In our Fuller series, which will be held at the Botanical Gardens soon, I will show you how to optimize your breathing pattern for increased energy and stamina. And it will enable you to just exercise away without getting tired. Don't miss it. But now, our seventh apple is rest. R is for rest. Proper rest allows the body to heal. Proper rest strengthens our immune system, reduces irritability, adds length to life, and even reduces stress. Stress is a big one. Stress can lead to emotional, psychological, and even physical problems, including coronary artery disease, high blood pressure, chest pains, even irregular heartbeat. Chronic stress, that's stress that is persistent over time, exposes the body to unhealthy, persistently elevated levels of adrenaline and the hormone cortisol. And certain studies link stress to changes in the way that blood actually clots, and that can also increase the risk of a heart attack. So stress is bad news. There is good stress and there is bad stress. We'll talk more about that in another time. But to promote proper rest, we must eat and drink sensibly. That's abusing alcohol and food may seem to reduce stress at the time, but it actually adds to it. To stop smoking, aside from the obvious health risks of smoking, nicotine can act as a stimulant and bring even more stress because of its effects upon the system. The exercise, the regular exercise, always set reasonable goals. Aerobic exercise, that's where you really get yourself breathing and elevate your heart rate. That releases endorphins in the brain, and that helps you feel better and also maintain a positive attitude. We must reduce the causes of stress. Effective time management involves asking for help when appropriate, setting priorities, pacing yourself, and also taking time out for yourself. The other thing is we need to get enough rest. We cannot fight stress effectively without rest and recovery time. And if we're under stress or if we're exercising a lot, that becomes even more important. We have to rest for long enough to relax the mind as well as the body. And the other thing we must do is examine our values. Certain values will promote a de-stressing effect, whilst others will produce a stressful effect. And so we come to rest. Proper rest contributes to our quality of life. And to maintain vibrant health, there must be a balance between activity and relaxation. Studies found that the greatest longevity is found amongst those who get between 7 and 8 hours of sleep per night. It's no good burning the candle at both ends. Again, the Bible has the wisdom. It is vain for you to rise up early, to sit up late. In other words, don't burn the candle at both ends. But we can also rest by taking a fast. That gives our stomach a rest. By omitting 1 to 3 meals in a week and taking only pure water instead of the meal, we can actually restore a person's health. And sometimes all we need to do is to eat 2 meals 6 hours apart in the day. That gives you an automatic 18-hour-a-day fast. And that, of course, reduces your total calories as well. So in doing that, we end up with better eyesight, sharper intellect, sharper memory, less kidney disease, 93% fewer cancers according to one study. We can enjoy better hearing, greater energy, less overweight, less osteoporosis, and less stress. I could almost say that just by taking these 2 meals 6 hours apart, we could address most of Bermuda's health problems in one go. Amazing, isn't it? So that covers the rest of the fast. And now we have our final principle, which is T for trust. Now this principle is a supernatural principle. It teaches us to rely fully upon God, even for our health. Trust in divine power. I will put none of these diseases upon thee, which I have brought upon the Egyptians, for I am the Lord that healeth thee, according to Exodus 15:26. So God here promised to not put diseases upon those who obey him. And in the book of Deuteronomy 28, as there is a list of diseases which the Egyptians actually suffered from. And that reads as follows. It says, "The Lord shall smite thee with madness and blindness and astonishment of heart," which actually means heart disease. Other diseases that were prevalent in Egypt include trichinosis, which is a parasitic disease caused by roundworms that are ingested in flesh foods. In addition, the Egyptians also suffered from tooth decay, CJD, what we call CJD, Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease, which is mad cow in humans, cancers, and hypertension. They sound familiar to us today, don't they? What is familiar is the actual lifestyle that they adopted back then hasn't changed that much from our modern lifestyle today. And unfortunately, with the lifestyle comes the diseases as an effect. But they are reversible. because thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee, because he trusteth in thee, according to Isaiah 26 and verse 3. And it is interesting that the Scripture tells us that health will come as marrow to our bones, because that's exactly where our white blood cells are made. So trusting in God for your health and following his 8 principles of health, or his 8 apples, will restore and maintain vibrant health for you. It says, trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he will direct thy paths. It shall be health to thy navel and marrow to thy bones, according to Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5 to 8. So there we have it. 8 apples, 8 natural principles for life, health, strength, and a future immortality. What could be simpler or better than that for each one of us? For your New Year's resolutions, I hope that you will start to choose munching through these 8 apples and enjoy the benefits of a new start in your life. And to help make it easier for you, Vibrant Health Seminars will be giving further lectures at the Botanical Gardens in conjunction with the Garden Cafe, who will help to take you on your first steps towards healthier eating. Vibrant Health Seminars also provides individual health counseling and natural treatments, including massage, hydrotherapy, and herbal detoxification programs. Look out for our advertisements coming up, and make your decision to get vibrantly healthy today. Thank you very much. Okay, I can take some questions if anyone has questions. Trying to bring the lights up here. Here we go. Yes, does anybody have a question? Yes, at the back, please.
Sorry, I've already forgotten what the first T was.
The first T. She's asking what the first T was. The first T is temperance, which is abstemiousness. It is regulating the good things in our lives and abstaining from those things which are detrimental to the human body.
Sorry, no, actually I did remember that. It was the S that I forgot.
It was the S. S is for sunlight. Yes, the sunlight which we have an abundance of in Bermuda, and we're all blessed without even appreciating it sometimes. That answer your question?
Yes.
Thank you. Somebody else had a question. Yes? Is there a danger in having too much rest? Is the question. Like all things, there is a requirement to be moderate. The principle of temperance says, be judicious even in the things which are beneficial to us. Rest is essential because as we rest and move into the deeper realms of sleep, especially when we get to stages 3, 4, and 5 of the sleep cycle, where REM sleep is in cycle 5, chemicals are released in the brain which begin the healing process of the body. So it is essential to actually rest properly, and the advice was given 7 to 8 hours per night. I can give you an extra strength to that. If we get our rest, our sleep rest, between the hours of 10 p.m. and midnight, then that is when these chemicals work at the most optimal. And in effect, you could say that an hour of rest before midnight has the beneficial effect of 2 hours taken after midnight. So early to bed and early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise, and especially healthy.
And the 7 to 8 has to be all at one time.
Ideally contiguous, yes. Take your sleep. You will find that because a person needs 7 to 8 hours of rest, if they fall asleep around 10 o'clock, then their body thinks that they've had 4 hours by midnight. And so that's only another 3 hours to get 7, or 4 hours to get 8 hours equivalent, and you could wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and feel quite refreshed. So it will actually bring about a more active life by taking that rest before midnight. That answer your question? Okay, thank you. Any others? Yes?
Just one in reference to the water. Drinking.
Yes, drinking water.
Yeah, so if you're drinking, say, you're drinking 100 ounces a day, and you're seeing sipping, what's a good way to sort of go monitoring through the day, how you actually, what becomes too complicated?
Yes, the question is how to effectively drink up to 100 ounces of water in a day. How do we carry it around? How do we manage it? And what we found to be the most effective way of doing that is to buy the sports bottles with those tops which allow you to just take a suck and put it down again. And then just take a sip every few minutes. It may take a little bit of getting used to initially, but before you know it, people will start noticing that you're always kind of doing this without even thinking about it. Now, the other gauge that you're drinking enough water is that your urine will be almost clear or very pale yellow. And it's a good test. I mean, it's a real rule of thumb. But if your urine is dark, then drink more water and see what happens. Okay? Yes?
So on that, in terms of, the color, so when you're drinking alcohol, though, it could, it's sort of, it could look at times clear because the alcohol causes the...
Yes, yes. There are two reasons why it's bad to drink the alcohol. Firstly, the alcohol itself draws water away from the body. In order to dilute it, the body recognizes the alcohol as a poison, and that the poison must be somehow nullified or inactivated. Consequently, it will draw body water into the stomach and the bloodstream so that it can dilute and finally eliminate the alcohol poison through the liver. And so you'll actually end up being more thirsty drinking an alcoholic drink, which also means that the urine that is produced is going to be naturally darker as well. But added to that, the pollutants that come with alcohol, nobody drinks neat alcohol, they wouldn't last very long, but the other pollutants in the drinks and in other foods will also cause the urine to be discolored. So what the lack of water does is exacerbate a problem, and alcohol is a major way of doing that. Does that answer your question okay? Thank you. Any more questions before we finish? Yes, sir.
How effective is chocolate tablets?
How effective is charcoal tablets? That's a very good question. He's asking how effective charcoal tablets are. It's an open-ended question because the response has to be, well, for what? Charcoal is one of nature's real gifts because it is an excellent poultice producer for any insect bites, snake bites, anything that you find a breakage in the skin or even under the skin, bruising. Charcoal is a very, very good poultice maker. Taken internally, it has an amazing effect of adsorbing poisons. It actually has a very large surface area, especially what's called activated charcoal, which is made using a special process, a natural process, but it has to be activated, and then it has an even greater surface area. What happens is the poisons stick to the surface area of the charcoal, and then they are safely carried out of the body through the draft. And so charcoal is both beneficial on the external as well as internally, even for indigestion, or if you've eaten too much acidic food. Just take a heaped dessert spoonful of charcoal powder and mix it in some water. Drink that down and follow it with a water chaser, and you will find that whatever was giving you heartburn will rapidly decline, and you'll get a good night's sleep if it's at night that you're suffering from it. There are many benefits of charcoal. I could probably go on about an hour just telling you about the benefits of charcoal. But you'll have to come to our other lecture to find more on that. Okay, does that answer your question okay? Thank you very much. Any other questions before we end? Yes.
Do I gather you haven't set any dates yet or specific times for when the series will be?
Thank you for asking that. Yes, the question is, when will the next series begin? We're looking at probably the beginning of February. As I mentioned a couple of times in the lecture, it will be at the Botanical Gardens in what used to be the Visitor Center and is now the Garden Cafe. And the Garden Cafe folks have kindly partnered with us in order to make this a real practical ministry or offering, so that the advice on one hand and the treatments on one hand can be matched by some transitional foods which take people from where they were part of the way to where they need to get to in order to obtain vibrant health. So to answer your question briefly, the beginning of February, when there's been a sufficient amount of promotion so that people can take the benefits of it. Okay, does that answer your question? Thank you. Yes?
Yes. With nutrition, you mentioned that a study by Dr. Dean Ornish.
Yes.
And you're mentioning food, healthy foods now. He was giving them a healthy diet versus the normal surgery, correct?
Yes, it was a study done on people who were at high risk for heart attack, who were already slated to go under the knife for bypass surgery. So these were people who had not been living a healthy life. The standard procedure is to ship them to hospital, to have them undergo open heart surgery, to have either stents or coronary artery bypass surgery, or any other of the standard procedures. But a study was done to see what would happen if simply the diet were changed for a little while. And the results were very, very clear-cut, that if the group that went onto the vegetarian diet with only 10% of calories from fat, which is, and vegetarian, of course, I should mention, has no cholesterol whatsoever. Cholesterol is an animal product only. So a no cholesterol diet means they could not increase the cholesterol through dietary means. And just the other diet, which was the prudent diet according to the American Heart Association, which contained 300 milligrams of cholesterol permitted, that is animal product cholesterol, that actually resulted in an increase in the overall risk of heart attack. The cholesterol increased, the arteries narrowed, and they were actually worse off than when they started. So the clear result of that is, by switching from an animal-based to a plant-based diet began the reversal process. And that's the key point to take home, that these diseases are not with us for life unless we choose to let them be. If we don't change from animals to plant-based diets, then we can expect the usual results. That is, surgeries and medications until we expire. But if we choose to take our own health seriously and decide that we're going to move our diet to a plant-based diet, we can fully expect a reversal in those processes. And so that is really the good news of the naturopathic message. It's that we're not stuck in a downward spiral, but rather we have every opportunity to turn the corner and go back the way we came, and even end up with a healthier lifestyle and a healthier result than is envisioned through the other system. That answers your question, okay? Thank you. Okay. Any more questions? Okay, I want to thank you again for coming, and I'd wish you all a vibrant and healthy time from now on. Thanks again. Thank you.